Good afternoon, Wes.
What's up, man?
How are you?
No complaints. It's another Monday and
Valentine's
busy day.
Day hangover?
No, man, my wife was on. She's on nights, so I never see her when she's
Oh,
on
man.
nights. I see her even less. So no,
Celebrate another day.
celebrated another day. We've had enough celebration lately. Um, we both have early February birthdays, and then our anniversary is on the first week of February. So it's like boom, 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 right in a row. It's like then you
Got a
get
lot going on.
Valentine's. Yeah, it's Valentine's Day. It's like kind of celebrated out by that point.
Right.
So what about you?
I had a pretty good day. I worked a little bit and then went and got a Thai massage. So
That's that deep tissue stuff, huh? Is that right?
I guess you could call it that. They're all every time I go, it's different. I haven't been in like at least a year, but it's some of it is it's crazy. Like some of it, I guess you could call it. It's I bet a sports massage. Like I've had kind of a sports deep tissue massage. It's a lot different. Like the Thai massages, it's there's some good parts and there's some other parts that are like, what are you doing? Like just kind of they do some kind of stretching and they'll pull your limbs a little bit. Weird stuff like that, like karate chopping your back a little bit, you know. But I swear, like I think I got Kimura'd during the thing because she like put me in this like chicken wing type Kimura with my arm behind my back, and I was like, what is going on? I've never had this one done before. Like I was laying on my stomach, and then she put my arm behind my back, and then put her arm through mine. I swear she was doing Jiu Jitsu on me, but then she like cranked my arm over, and it like kind of gave me a little pop. It didn't hurt or anything. It was just kind of like a stretch, basically. But other than that, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. The hour is an hour combo, so they do your body and then your feet. So
Nice.
yeah, your feet.
Dude, I've only had like one or two massages in my life,
Yeah,
and everybody, they're like, man, you gotta get a massage, and you gotta try this, and they feel good or whatever, like just having somebody rubbing on you, right? But
yeah, for sure.
the first one that I got, I was traveling down in Nicaragua, and it was like we were staying at this. It was like the last night that we were traveling down there. It's a developing country, so everything's it's cheap. So we were like the last night we were there. We'd been backpacking for 10 days. We were ready for like shower and to have like a nice place to stay, right? So
Yeah,
we stayed at this like pretty much a 5-star hotel right in Managua, which is the capital.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a massage. It's gotta be good, right? 5-star. You're at a 5-star place. They should be. And it was just like this kind of thing. And
Really,
I was
just
like
weak.
so weak, dude. I was like,
That
if
was the
this is
first
what a
one ever?
massage, that was my first one. I was like,
Oh my god.
if this is what a massage is like, man, count me out, dude. I felt like I wasted my money. So
Well, they're not all great. I've walked away from a couple going, what did I just do? That was horrible. But I have some clients at ChillFit that they're serious in a massage. Like they have
yeah,
very regimented massage schedules with like a sports massage therapist. So they're super legit if you can find a good person. But I really never get them done. So it's like once in a while we'll just go to I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it just says foot massage on the sign outside.
that's how
It's
you
like
know
a
it's
mile
good,
from my
man.
house. Yeah, exactly.
They're
Oh man,
they're very niche down.
yeah, exactly. I don't know how they do it in there. It's always busy in there, but anyway, that was it. A Thai couple massage, and that was pretty much it. Just kind of crashed out last night. Long week.
Dude,
We had
nice, man.
we had a tough week in our gym. Found out one of my main training partners has cancer. So that was like a real tough one for us, just as friends, it was a really tough week going through training without him. He's a guy that, his name's Zach. He's trains with us every morning. Guy's there every day. Recently got his purple belt. Recently won Master Worlds in December as a blue belt. Guy's a savage. Great training partner. Just really good jiu-jitsu. So it was very heartbreaking, So we're just trying to set up some kind of support systems for him now. He's a big part of our school, and especially he's been, at least since I've been back in training since COVID shut down, the last 6 months, he's been in the early bird class where I train. So he's become a friend of mine, and it's really tough, man. So I'm going to be putting together some things to get the jiu-jitsu community behind him and give him some support for his family while he battles this, pretty serious cancer. So, he's taking it like a champion that he is. His words are encouraging. He's got a positive outlook on it, but he's got a long battle ahead of him. But if anyone can battle through this, it's this guy, man. He's got a strong mind. And so I'm mentioning that because, if you're listening to this, you're going to see, I'll be posting this on our Road to Black podcast Instagram, some ways you can help out our friend, Zachary Bighorn. Got a couple things in the works. He's got a GoFundMe account already. So we're just going to try to support that in any way we can. And I'm going to try with my teammates to keep him involved with jiu-jitsu somehow, because, it's heartbreaking to hear someone have to go through this, and, it's going to take a lot of his physical health away from him as he battles through this. But also, the mental side, that was almost the worst part to hear, is just hear him talk about how he's not going to be able to train anymore. So, it was a rough week going on without him, but whether we have to do some videos in class and, keep him involved, keep him in the loop, do even some Facebook Live if he wants to join in, I'm going to get some of that set up. And I'm also, I personally have designed a woven patch and sticker pack that I'm going to be selling through Rural Union. It's pretty cool. It's a design that supports his battle, so be looking for that. But everybody keep their thoughts and prayers with our friend Zachary Bighorn, and I'd really appreciate that. He's got a long battle ahead of him, but we're going to be there supporting him all the way. So that led into the weekend, and anyway, that was just a emotional week for me. And that, I'm just a guy here as a friend, so him and his family are going through a lot. So I know the jiu-jitsu community is super strong with these issues, and I plan on really boosting the signal out there about Zach and his battle in the next month or so. So stay tuned for that.
Man, I don't know what to say. That's,
yeah. And what can
heavy.
You say? Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
It's heavy.
It comes out of the blue, and when something like that happens, we got to stick together as a family, whether it's your jiu-jitsu family or otherwise. But he's got hopefully a good support system around him at home. I know he does at the gym, so we'll keep everybody in kind of in the know on his progress. So we're hoping to get him back to the mats. That was my week. Tough emotional week leading into the weekend. Ooh. And just trying to stay positive about it.
Yeah, that's all you can really do, and support him and keep him engaged. And
yep.
Obviously I've never gone through anything like that, but I do think that any way that somebody can stay in the community and have community members that are supporting him and as he's going through, because it's a prolonged process,
yeah.
And so it's not having support all the way through is very, very important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can imagine if you can't imagine. We can't imagine, but unless you've been through something like that. But I can only begin to imagine the difficulty of just, fighting that battle, plus not being able to do what you love to do. That's just a huge deflation of your, you're on this run, you're on this roll, you love jiu-jitsu, and then I got to stop for a while. So Anyway, thoughts and prayers to Zach out there. More to come with that. We'll be mentioning him here again. So getting into the weekend, you know, man, I was on social media a little bit. I tried to stay off of it on Valentine's Day, but over the weekend, Gordon Ryan just went ham on Andre Galvao and his boys. And most of the time I'll try to like just watch this stuff from afar, but he's man, he's that's
he's
like
a troll. He's a troll.
He's amazing at it too. He's like a meme expert. You know, he's the greatest no-gi grappler there is right now. But it's interesting to see the dynamic and see the approach that people take in, you know, for Gordon especially. He's kind of at a point right now, and his whole beef is that he just can't really find anybody to compete against him, you know, and it's interesting because, you know, I think he's young and this is just his approach. It wouldn't be my approach, obviously, but I'm not this grappling superstar that wants to make a lot of money. You know, he's not hiding the fact that he loves money. Gordon Ryan.
Yeah. He
gets paid a lot for his DVDs and his instructionals. You know, he's got a huge following. More power to him. The thing with Andre is like, it's interesting because Gordon's just trying to like pick a fight. He just wants, you know, he's trying to get the biggest names out there. And I guess a lot of these guys have just turned him down to some extent. So on one hand, I kind of understand where he's coming from. But on the other, it's like, it's kind of like just a pissing match, and it's kind of immature by some of these guys. You know, it's like, can't we come to an agreement? I guess it's just people's egos are just so fragile. You know, you want to think that you have this great ego equalizer with jiu-jitsu, but when you get to that level, you know, these guys are almost scared to get a blemish on their record. You know, some of these guys, obviously.
Yeah.
Because, and it goes both ways. You know, Gordon complains that he's looking for a fight. Hey, Andre, you know, I guess Andre said that, you know, Gordon and Andre are supposed to fight at ADCC based on like the super fight, how they normally do it. But apparently Andre's not going to do it, or he wants money to do it, or more money than they've normally given them. And then Mo from ADCC got involved and was saying, hey, this is never going to happen. We don't even make this much money. And the whole thing is like, Gordon said, you know, he'll even compete with Galvao for pay-per-view and donate it all to charity. So that was admirable. I mean, it's admirable, but on the other hand, he's kind of just goading Andre because he knows he's not going to fight him, basically.
Yeah.
But then there's other guys that'll want to fight Gordon, and Gordon's like, no, I'm not going to fight on those terms. I'm not going to make any money with that fight. So that kind of gets me. It's like, you can't say you can't get a fight if you're just fighting for money, you know? And because then you're only protecting your own ego as well and your own record. You know, I'm not going to do it unless I'm getting paid $200,000, and then it'll be worth. I just don't get that, you know.
100%.
You want to know what makes you the greatest grappler? Just go beat everybody. Keep beating everyone. Doesn't matter. Anyone that challenges you that's a viable opponent. And he's got some, you know. They might not be the biggest names, but there's great grapplers out there that are maybe second tier. Maybe they're not going to beat Gordon, but hey, you know what I mean? You got to open up there are people willing to challenge him. So at some point you got to just do it, you know? And I think I want to see the guy fight, you know? I mean, he doesn't get many matches.
He goes this weekend. I think it's this weekend in
he's
WNL,
a fill-in.
right?
Yeah, he's a fill-in for his brother.
For his brother, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wanted to see his brother with that fight, but
oh man.
we'll see. We'll see if Jimenez can give Gordon a fight. But I do appreciate, and that I do like that part that Gordon picked up that fight, because he's like, you know, Roberto Jimenez comes to fight. He's not coming to stall or protect his ego or image. You know, we're both going to go after it, and I think that's going to be good. I think they're both great grapplers. I just think Gordon's on another level in no-gi. His system is it's just so automatic. He's just so good. He always puts people exactly where he wants them.
Exactly.
Yep. That's like his That's why he's so successful. He literally will take his time to put you right where he wants you, and very systematic, probably as a result of being coached by Danaher. But the Gal, I mean, he's a meme god. His memes over the weekend against Andre, and I mean, it pissed Andre off. Did you see Andre's stories from inside his gym?
Oh, dude,
Where he was going in front of his medals, and
yeah, I saw
and
that.
I get Andre's side too. I don't get it, but I understand. Andre is like he's got all the accolades in the world.
Yeah.
Compared to Gordon. He really does. Both
100%.
gi and no gi. I mean, the guy is
Yep.
just a grappling superstar, legend. But, and I think Gordon knows that, and he's trying to pick a fight with the biggest name, especially because he knows these guys don't want to fight him. So then it's like you got the bully mentality where I'm just going to push a little bit farther and try to just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not as big of a fan of all that trash talk and disrespect, but it's part of the game these days.
It really is.
With some athletes.
As it gets more popular, it's going to be more.
The younger generation likes that.
Yeah, there's going to be more trash talk.
Yeah.
But here's my question. I go back and forth with this. It's not so I'll just ask it straight up. So he's asking, Galvao wants a cool mill to fight, right? Because he's coming out of retirement, whatever his excuse is. Part of me is like, okay, he's asking for an absolutely prohibitive amount of money to ADCC. They don't even make that much, right?
Yeah.
And so is this an excuse to not fight? Is like my first thought, right? Like, is this
exactly? Did he come up with this because he knows it's not possible?
Because he knows it's not possible. But the other side of the coin of that I also think about is he saying, this is my value and this is what I'm worth, and I'm not going to show up unless I get paid what I'm worth?
Yeah.
Which to go a little bit further with that is pushing the sport forward in terms of what athletes get paid.
Yes.
Right? So and that's what I mean, professionally, no matter what you're doing, you want people pushing your profession forward in terms of your value,
Yeah.
And I go back and forth on both of those points. And I mean, I don't know where I don't have like I think he's ducking Gordon, and I also don't have like I think that he's trying to push the profession of jiu-jitsu forward. I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree. I think in a way he's trying to do that. I don't think it's like the exact perfect approach, but I think he's been trying to I think he's doing that because he actually came up with, they were arguing in the comments or whatever in the story, and I saw like even figures being thrown out by Andre, like, this is how many people we can get at this cost equals this money, and he's like doing quick math, but it's like, it's all just kind of a flawed perspective, or not a very well thought out perspective, because I think they should do that. I think there is, and I think his point was right, is that with this beef and this internet, all eyes on, there's a lot of eyes within the graphic on this issue right now. Sure. I mean, if you're in the social media aspect of it and you're in the kind of the jiu-jitsu culture online, you know about this. So, and it's been going on for a while, but why not use that to actually do what he's suggesting and get these guys paid more? Because basically in the end, I think one of the maths that they worked out was that, if you get this many people getting the pay-per-views, you can get that money, but then that's all. Mo's point was that we're going to pay all that money just to you. And what happens is about you're going to have that same amount, $1 million for Gordon, or whatever.
Right.
If it's winner take all, maybe not. But his point was there's other fighters on the card, and I get it. But Mo's also, he's kind of in close with Gordon. He spends a lot of time in Puerto Rico with those guys, and
He basically lives with them.
Yeah, that's his like golden boy. The ADCC champ. So I get both sides, but I think it's all. I think in the end, when jiu-jitsu really becomes, I don't know when this is, but it's growing at a rapid pace, very rapid. We're talking like a growth like this, and then it's like shooting up in the last 5 years. Yep. And it's only going to get bigger because now there's just more and more exposure, and that's the same way MMA started. And I'm not saying it's going to be as big as MMA, but two of the biggest countries in the world, it's thriving. I mean, it's always been in Brazil. It's a big part of Brazilian culture, but also America is just, it's really blowing up here. And this is in spite of a pandemic. Obviously a lot of people are not training, but there's still a lot of interest in jiu-jitsu. It's going to grow as we move beyond this issue of COVID. My point is some entrepreneur, someone will come in and do what these other people aren't willing to do and put together these fights and make them bigger.
Yeah.
Start getting some backing, start promoting it in a way that you can actually sell. Because right now it's all flow grappling. Mm-hmm. Even Mo said that. He's like, oh, we're satisfied with the flow grappling deal. Oh, dude, was flow grappling even around 4 years ago? Like, remember? You know what I mean? So it's flow grappling itself. They've done a lot for the sport to put them on the map, but there could be someone else that comes in, Dana White, that has more resources and is able to put together bigger fights. I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but we've seen it with other martial arts. They've done it with some kickboxing, and it's and Muay Thai. But jiu-jitsu is so much bigger than those sports right now.
Dude, think how great that would be for. So UFC Fight Pass is picking up a lot of these other jiu-jitsu promotions. I don't know if it, you know what I mean. So they're trying to. Quintet is on there.
There's several other
EBI,
ones.
I think, is on there. So they're picking these promotions up, right? I mean, can you imagine you set up a pay-per-view on Fight Pass and have those two on it? I mean, that would be...
It would be big. In our community, it's not going to do... And that was even Mo's point. He's like, well, this pay-per-view, he would mention some pay-per-view with even Fedor. The guy just went and looked. He was trying to make a point. But he was like, this pay-per-view only sold this many. So how are we going to... Because he was like, to Galvao's point, we can't sell 50,000 buys or whatever it was. My point is maybe not on the first one, but as if someone starts getting these things together and you have these super fights with a beef this big, this is the opportunity you need to sell fights,
100%.
I mean, maybe this isn't always going to, I think it takes a special athlete to create this controversy, because it's the same in UFC. Why do you think Conor became such a huge superstar? Because half the people hate him and half the people love him. Yep. Same thing with Gordon Ryan. Same exact thing. He's polarizing. He's puts himself out there. He's cocky. He's confident. Same guy. I mean, in many ways.
Yeah.
Brash. So it's just interesting to see now these guys are at a level where they're just not going to compete unless there's money involved. There's just too much ego, pride, history. I think it's getting to that point. And Gordon especially, because he has a focus on money. And he even, like, one of the memes was, hey, look at Andre winning in 2005 or whatever it was, jumping up and down, and he made $0 from this. And just, so there's two perspectives, right? You could look at it as, hey, I'm a traditionalist. Andre he's in a somewhat of an amateur IBJJF World Championship event / pro for him. These black belts, that's what they really do. But they're not really getting paid.
Yeah.
But it's the glory of winning worlds. But what I'm saying is it's moving, as most things do, into a monetized.
Yeah.
The best athletes are expecting to get more. They're expecting just a world championship isn't going to be enough anymore.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be some paydays.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
And I respect that because, you know, you were talking about, he was talking, you know, Gordon was saying that he wasn't, you know, getting paid in 2005 when he's winning all these ADCC championships, right? Well, it was a completely different ball game in 2005.
Oh, yeah.
Like jiu-jitsu was still,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it's
a fraction of what it is today.
Oh my
in
gosh.
America, in the United States.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it just was like, you almost can't even talk about what was happening in 2005 as far as like popularity of the sport, who's getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's over a decade later, you know, but
15 years.
It's like a generation. I mean,
Yeah.
you can, like, generationally, that is completely different.
Yeah.
So
does Andre have more to gain or more to lose? This is a question I was talking with the guys in the gym the other day. I think he has more to lose by competing and losing. Because he's already has a legacy. And that was kind of his point on his posts. He has a legacy. He's older. And that's not really an excuse, because Gordon will tell you that Andre's in his prime. So, you know, and I kind of tend to agree with, you know, today is not the world where, you know, if you're a master's athlete, you're over the hill and you can't compete anymore. Okay?
Yeah. If
you're 31, 32 years old, that is your prime in most sports.
Yeah.
It just is. And I see the same, you know, if you're 30 and you're just look at Gordon Ryan. Do you think when he's 31, he's going to be past his prime? I don't think so. Not if he's continues at this pace and gets better. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's not old, you know, and sometimes people think of it as old in jiu-jitsu, but it's not, you know. But that's my point, is that Andre's older than Gordon, and he has all these accolades. He has a very successful school, an online training academy. If he loses, and he's so worried about losing, does that hurt his bottom line? It could affect business in some way. I'm just trying to think of it that way. If he wins, maybe it's a huge boost for his business and his school. But his school is already considered the top school.
Yeah, I mean...
So I could see why... I don't know. I mean, I think it comes down to whether you're making decisions based on business or pride or, you know, ego, or just wanting to be the best in the world, you know?
Well, even to your point, what does the decision-making process look like, and the financial piece? I mean, this dude is running arguably the top school in the world, right?
Yeah.
He's got how many world-class competitors that he's coaching and mentoring? Mm-hmm. He has, I mean, he's teaching classes there all the time.
Yeah.
He's doing his online stuff. So if you're going to ask this guy to completely step away from focusing on those aspects of things, it should be financially. Yeah. There should be a financial incentive to it, mm-hmm. because he has to shift his entire focus. It's not like,
right.
You know, he's not, I mean, have you seen him lately?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still jacked. He's still
mm-hmm.
a great athlete. But he's not ADCC or world's ready. You know, you look at him and he's a little smaller. He's focusing on other things. He's focusing on mentorship and creating athletes.
Yeah.
His own athletes, going on. Right? So.
And he has to fight a shit-talking battle online.
Dude, did you dig into any of those comments?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Oh, my gosh.
Dude,
who are these people?
I know.
Like, who are these people that I don't understand it. Like people that, I mean, all they do is just
get involved
and instigate and say really shitty things to people online that they don't even know. And here's the thing: you're saying it to particularly into Galvao, who within the last probably week or two, they've looked at some sort of online Galvao like instructional video.
Yeah.
You know, so they don't give a shit that he's providing all this content and all this value to their jiu-jitsu, but then when it comes to he doesn't want to take on Gordon for less than $1 million, then all of a sudden it's like turncoat.
Yeah.
Right? Which really, like, it bothers me. I just sat in some of those, like,
But you know who's online?
Trolls.
Yeah. You and I aren't commenting
Keyboard
on these things.
No, keyboard warriors.
Yeah,
man.
it's a lot of them are just losers that wish they could be great, and they just start talking shit, and they're nut huggers one way or another. They love, they're either riding Andre or riding Gordon, and it's usually younger people that just attach themselves to this. They like the shit talk, especially for Gordon's people, because Andre has like an army of people that train under him. So think about that. And you'll see a lot of those people coming into defense online. Gordon doesn't. So there's a huge dynamic and it explains kind of the success that each of them has had and where they're at in their lives. Gordon's going to tell you, I make more money. Okay. We know, I know personally that money doesn't mean shit in the long run. It's nice to have, but it's not everything in life. And it's not going to make you happy if you're the richest, good luck. If you want to be the richest grappler ever, good job. But no one else really cares about that unless it's some loser that just looks at money like that. That doesn't mean shit to me in terms of your accolades. That just doesn't cut it for me. I don't care about that. Same thing with Connor. Good job. He's the richest guy. He just got blasted in his last fight. It's like, that means nothing to me. Money's nice when you want to be able to live comfortably, but to be the whole driver, like obsessed about it, like Gordon is, and he literally put Happy Valentine's Day on his Instagram yesterday, and it was just a pile of cash to my Valentine. Happy Valentine's to my Valentine was a pile of cash. So I mean, he's out there he's going to tell you what it's about, but that's what I'm saying. Andre's built up this legacy. He's got this successful school. He's got all these different, affiliates and people underneath him, and really a lot of great talent, and probably some of the best up and coming talent in the world. Gordon Ryan doesn't even have a team that he's not a teacher like that. So it's completely different. It's a completely different dynamic. Gordon is the prototypical superstar athlete. He's not coaching people, and I mean, he obviously is, and I'm sure he's great at it. He does seminars, he makes money doing it, but he doesn't have that responsibility that an Andre has of running an academy and a slew of other things going on. Totally different. And I think that goes to your point of Andre's just not going to be able to jump in there, and it takes some training. This is going to be a high level fight if it does happen, right? But it's just it's not only Andre. There's other ones out there that for one reason or another, some of these guys don't want to fight him. But I just thought it was an interesting dynamic because in some ways these are the best guys, but they literally are resisting competing against each other. And Gordon's the same way.
Yeah. He is.
He's the same way. He wants to say he'll take any fight, but he won't. Like, if it's not for the right amount of money, he's not going to fight. So,
dude,
it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, because otherwise, where do the best guys compete if they're not competing? I don't know.
Yeah. The braggadocious thing on, like, the money stuff, honestly, I'm sitting here, like, going through it. I'm trying to compare the two, and maybe this will highlight a bias, I don't know, on who I like more. Mm-hmm. But, Gordon's talking about all this money that he makes on his instructionals and this and that. Let's think about the financial investments and what Galvao does to how he makes money, right? When you think about it in the long term, I think Galvao has a way more sustainable product that's going to make him a lot more money, and probably does make him a lot more money than Gordon Ryan. You know, Gordon makes these instructionals, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at Galvao. He runs a school. It's like, I think it's like $250 on a subscription service every month. He also has his online stuff, which I mean, I subscribe to Atos Online. It's $25 a month. Yeah. And you get 5,000 subscribers on that. That's passive income. He doesn't have to do any other work.
Yeah.
Besides just film his school and his classes and all of his instructors' classes, right? $25 a month. You get 5,000 subscribers. That, you know, I'm not even going to sit here and do the math on that, but
yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot times a year. That is just it's not buckets of money and like upfront.
Yeah.
It's a consistent revenue source.
Yeah. I think that's
right?
the difference, and that's what but that's your point. 125 grand over a year. Gordon says he makes that in a month sometimes. Now, that's my point though. Is that going to, you know, you don't have an academy.
Yeah.
You don't have this established. You don't have this legacy yet. We'll see, you know. Are you going to be at a point, are you going to get the fights and the notoriety for people to continue paying this over the next 5-10 years? I'm sure he'll figure out something. He's a great grappler. But he also turns a lot of people away, where I don't think Andre does that.
Yeah.
You know, so that is something that could impact him financially as well. Now, people might not like Andre for whatever reason, but you don't have as much. It's not as out front how many people. Like Gordon, there's a lot of people that will not follow him on Instagram. They don't like the shit talk. They don't want to talk about money. They don't like that aspect of the sport. He loses a lot of the Brazilians, which is a lot of money potential. Yep. So you have to think about those things too. You know, in terms of what we just talked about, if you're looking to make all your money from seminars, there might be a lot of gyms that want you. Maybe some don't, because they just don't respect you or whatever. And same thing with Andre, you know, maybe his models, you know, he's more established. It's kind of an interesting, and we're just picking these two, but I'll go back to keep saying, like with Gordon, when are we going to, because Andre allegedly is kind of beyond his career, you know, and that's fine if that's what you're going to do. And if you're going to try to compete against the up and coming best guys at 10 years younger than you, that's going to be tough, you know, but he's definitely not washed up, you know, but like you said, his priorities are shifted, where Gordon is 100% looking for his next fight, you know, training to destroy the next opponent. It is just crazy how he just goes hard, man. He just goes hard and in almost like a bully mentality, and he rubs people. It's like the Conor thing, you know, people either love him or hate him. You know, I get a laugh out of some of the stuff he does, and then some stuff, you know, he starts talking political and stuff, and I'm just roll my eyes. I'm like, man, these people, you don't have enough life experience a lot of times to even be talking about this shit. So it's best just not say anything, you know. It's not as simple when he's talking politics, especially. It's just not as simple as, you know, the Republicans are good and the Democrats are bad, or vice versa, whatever. These things are nuanced, you know, and to sit there and anybody, and it doesn't have to be him, but I wish it would take the politics out of grappler. I see a lot of these grapplers putting this stuff up because they have a lot of following. It's like, why don't you just go get a political science degree or something and then come talk to me? It's like, stick with grappling. That's the one thing that rubs me wrong with some of these guys. It's like, I don't want to hear. I'm sick of hearing all this stuff about politics.
Totally,
you know,
totally.
I'm coming here to get away from that.
Get away from it. Yeah, that's right.
But he's got a big platform, and people notice him. And man, he went hard on these guys. He went hard on these guys this weekend.
Yeah, to your point, to kind of like segue, you know, with Galvao. So real quick, you know, the only thing I have wrong, it's not even wrong. I don't really care what he does, but the biggest beef on Galvao was never that he's a big trash talker. Yeah. It was that he juices. Yeah. Right. That he's on, but everybody is. Yeah. So it's like
Gordon.
I know. Right. Have you seen the before and after pictures of that guy?
Nicky, his brother. These guys. I mean, Somebody asked me the other day in class, they're like, can you get as big as Nicky did that quick? Because Nicky Ryan, I mean, it's like maybe a year, 18 months, and he's like pretty ripped now.
Yeah.
He was a scrawny little dude. But at that age, yes, you can get buff and you can be crazy good and you can do it. Like,
Yeah.
plenty of people have gotten big naturally on natty. And I'm talking about Nicky Ryan. He's not huge, you know. Yes, you can get that big. But if your brother's always got the shit, maybe you might be taking a little bit too.
That's right.
But
yeah,
I'm not against it, because to me, are they testing for it? No. So whatever.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all, man.
I honestly think that those types of things, you know where they help the guys? It's with recovery.
Yeah.
It helps these guys train like beasts.
Like madmen.
Every day, you know? That's the thing. It's like, you look at Andre and, oh, he's all roided up. Well, yeah, he gets bigger with steroids or testosterone. He gets bigger because he lifts. But even without, if he was just doing physical exercise and he's still on the tests or roids, your endurance is through the roof.
Yeah.
You feel less pain. You feel less soreness. You can go longer. I mean,
he's clearly not on right now either.
You think? Yeah, I haven't really looked at it. I mean, you can't be on it all the time. If you are on it all the time, you're going to be a monster. Like, that's just how it works. If you're lifting all the time and you're on, that's why these guys will cycle on and off, you know. You do it for a while, then you don't, you know, you do it when you need to do it. And I don't know what Andre, he's getting older. Maybe he's just doing TRT or what. Who knows what these guys are all on. Until they start doing some comprehensive test program, you'll never know. So don't expect them not to be on it. But they are, these dudes, these beasts, they're, you know, Gordon's just jacked sometimes. And he's, you know, he was just a skinny guy and he's a young guy. And I don't think he denies it, you know. I've never seen him deny it once. He'll joke about it and say it's just, you know, bamba or whatever they always say. Like, but that's his way of saying, yeah, I'm on the shit, you know. But I don't know. It's in a perfect world, you pay these guys a bunch of money, you give them all these steroids, and you just let them go to town. But we'll see, you know. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, so I get it. You know, Galvao's priorities has shifted, and he's doing a lot of mentorship, and he's trying to develop his team and his
takes
network.
A lot of effort.
It takes a lot of effort and
tremendous amount of effort to have those responsibilities.
If you're trying to mentor people, man, it's so much less about getting out there and competing yourself and all that stuff, and so much more about helping somebody develop their own game.
Yeah.
So something that we were kind of talking about before we jumped on the podcast was just tapping into that mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know like two coaches, like especially the early bird at GDs, Manny and Gary are both big mentors, invested a lot in me. And then I've talked to you about the other people, like our buddy Josh, Orlando, Bo. You know, those are guys that have went above and beyond to teach me things and to help me develop, and just kind of so where this came from is we received a message from a listener who was not so much concerned, but just sent us a message that said, hey, you know, my training experience is not, you know, kind of what you guys are describing yours is. Can you talk a little bit about tapping into mentorship and tapping into coaches and kind of what all that looks like? So I thought we might kind of riff on that for our last little bit.
It's, you know, it's probably I mean, it's super legit. I love the fact that they reached out and said, hey, you know, we're listening. I'm listening, and I'm not having the same experience, because, you know, we've talked about this many times. I even mentioned it in a recent podcast last week or the week before. If you're not in a situation that you're real comfortable with and you're not digging it and you're not having fun, maybe go look for a different situation. You know, try not to get tied. If you have the opportunity, you don't always have to be tied into that situation. And that can go for, you know, your training partners, the vibe of the gym, but mostly and honestly is your coach, you know. Um, we mentioned last week about a black belt that didn't ever roll with their students, you know. What kind of connection do you have if you're not? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably similar to a situation like this listener. Um, but as you were rolling off the names that we both share in terms of mentors and coaches in jiu-jitsu from our academy, my current academy, um, you know, a lot of it is that these guys are, first of all, it's just in their character to care, you know. They're doing this because they love it. All of those, none of those people, in terms of the people that you just mentioned, also, um, they are they're coaches that are not school owners. So that's another thing. Is like in particular, like with the Galvao has so much going on. It's even more difficult for a guy like him or a gym owner to start connecting at a very mentor like level. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our guys, our friends that we're talking about, their coaches, they might have a little bit more time. It's not only that, but I'm just saying that's one thing I recognize from the names you were throwing out there. Um, so they're very focused on their classes, and they don't have a lot of external business related. So it just depends. And this is kind of going to where I want to get with this, is that I think a lot over the last month or two, I've really been thinking and hearing listener stories, or I hear like a friend or someone will stop me and say, "Hey, I'm really liking your podcast," or this and this, or my experience is this. There's a lot of people with different experiences. I sent you something over the week. It was a thread or something, a comment. I can't even remember. And it was, this person was basically a purple belt in a situation where they were teaching other students and they literally didn't know how to teach them more.
Yeah.
If that was the one, I saw like 2 or 3 of them this week. So I have to always remember we're talking in terms of our own experiences, which has been overall really good. But other people are in completely different situations. You might be training jiu-jitsu. In this case, it was a purple belt somewhere. They had good success with their white and blue belts, even going to tournaments. And this purple belt admittedly said, "Well, I just teach them this very, very distinct set of moves." So basically, it was what the purple belt knew, the knowledge that that person had, that they used all the time. They taught their blue and white belts, and they had success in tournaments because they stuck to very specific techniques.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. But that purple belt is hampered or hindered because they don't have that additional knowledge and time on the mats to continue, and they didn't have a black belt teaching them.
Correct.
Very strange. So that's a whole nother podcast. We could talk about how someone gets, but is it okay to have a purple? Yeah. I mean, what if you're the only people out there and this guy got a purple belt, he moves into town. It's like, these people want to learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
The guy can teach him something at a purple belt, but
Yeah.
how do you advance? How do you progress? Okay. That was a side note. My point is that purple belt had the passion to start teaching these people, right? You run into that a little bit where you're at now. You're a higher belt. You have a pod with you. I'm sure you're teaching and sharing knowledge. I know you are, in kind of some unofficial school capacity. You're not a school owner, but
Yep.
you have the knowledge to be able to even give this person a stripe or help them. I know you're the type of person you're going to coach. Okay. These people are probably looking you, like some people look at me, as somewhat of a mentor.
Yeah.
And it could just be one person. Maybe it's a handful of people. What it is, though, in the end, is the relationship and the time it takes, in my opinion, to develop that. So you're going to get as much of that mentorship and close relationship with your coaches as much. You're going to get as much out of it as much as you put into it. And what I mean by that, if you're the type of person that's very quiet, you come 2 times a week, maybe you don't have any connections in class other than, hey, bump, slap, roll, that's all you're going to get out of it. If you are going for years on end, you're going 3 or 4 times a week, you're constantly seeing your coach, constantly talking to them about technique, there's going to be a little bit of a relationship development there. You know what I mean? More so. Mm-hmm. So I think that's number one, is that there's a couple things. The person that's the mentor has to be able, willing and want to put in the time and to make this person better. Also, though, it's on the student as well to seek that and not just expect it. You have to build that relationship, and that means you respect this person. Maybe they're a great mentor. Maybe you see them talking to your friend and they're just been so great. Well, you need to develop a relationship with that person to get that feedback as well.
Yeah.
You can't just come to me and say, you can't just say, hey, I wish Paul would spend more time. And this could be anything in life. I get this wherever, because I've been a mentor in business. I've been an official mentor in like programs within business and working in business, big business. It's a two-way street. I can't just take all my time just to try to give you information you're not taking in and responding to. So you have to develop that relationship. And that's not always easy. As you know, we talked offline about certain individuals we know, coaches, school owners that might not have that connection with their students, and that could just be a character. It could be a personality trait. It could be because maybe they're younger and they don't have as much experience talking and mentoring people. But I think it's kind of a great topic, and it's kind of a reminder to us that everyone's in a different situation. So,
yeah, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I've trained at a lot of different schools, and had stripes on my purple belt before I went to a school that I actually felt like I was a part of the team, and I was like getting that connection where I was like in with the team, just like a part of it, and that people wanted me there and that people were willing to invest in me. And so when I think a lot about that time, there were, like you're saying, we've talked online about some people, some different coaches or whatever. But the people that I really resonated with were the ones that were like, this is just a for instance, you're going through your drills, you have a coach, at least our coaches, they walk around and watch you drill and they watch you do the techniques. And, if some, one of the names that I mentioned would say, hey man, he'd either take the time to tune me up, or he would say, man, you really got that technique down. Let me add this next little wrinkle on top of it. And I want you to drill that for the remainder of the time.
Yeah.
So he would say, okay, now add this to it, so that you get that extra little,
that's great additive,
just that extra gravy, that you put in. And I picked up so many little pieces doing that. And, so when I think about like my situation, like I'm still in contact with all those folks, and I've almost like doubled down on those relationships. I've like leaned into them even without the distance. And probably why I'm reflecting on this so much right now is because of the distance. But you want to latch on to those folks.
Yeah.
If you find somebody that is like investing their knowledge in you and giving you that, it's like hang on to those folks, because it's not everybody's going to give that.
Right. You're in a good situation, whether it's like you're just keeping in touch, or whether you're finding yourself in a school. If you have an environment like that, be very thankful.
Yeah.
More and more as I go through and we do these podcasts and I hear from listeners and I start really doing deep thought on how the vast differences of people's training experiences are, it's almost hard to talk about things in general terms, because it's easy to talk about things in general terms. We do it all the time, but it's not always relatable to everyone, and we're finding that out by, getting some of the feedback. But what do you do? What do you do if you're not in that situation? I think it depends on I think a lot of times you might mine that out, those issues, as an earlier in your earlier belts, hopefully. Where, hey, I've been training here 6 to 8 months. This just says I'm not feeling the vibe. I'm not getting any extra help. The teacher comes and does the class, immediately he's off the mats. I'm not getting any feedback. That is very, you can get that. Look, you can be at a really, really good school where the coaches are really in tune and still get that. There's a lot of students at these schools. And that's kind of to my point. You have to kind of be in the purview of the coaches, whatever that means. Don't leave early in class every time. Maybe, you know what I mean? Develop relationships. I think that's a big part of it. Develop a relationship with your coaches or other higher belts in class. It doesn't always have to be the coach, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's that's really the hard part, I think, where it's really, because I think about this in my previous experiences before I got the G's, just kind of feeling like I was falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to you don't want to have to just constantly feel like you're trying to pull information out of people.
Yes,
exactly. that gets really old, where it's like, man, I just want a little bit more. I want a little bit more. And you're trying to figure out how to get it, but you're not quite sure how. And then you feel like you're trying to just, you're trying to pull water out of a dry well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is, and I've experienced that, and it's really frustrating. So maybe like you were saying, maybe it's not from the coach. Maybe it's from one of the higher belts.
Yeah.
That you try and develop that kind of relationship with. And
I think, as you know, most higher belts that I've trained with, they're more than willing to share their knowledge. I mean, they're into it. If you got a higher belt, purple belt or brown, black, especially a purple and brown belt, I shouldn't say especially, black belts too, but people that are still in your same boat, if we want to look at it that way, we're still on the road to black. We understand each other's, not to say that when we get our black belts, anything's going to change. We're still going to have a grind. We're still going to have to work at it, but don't lose sight of the fact that purple and brown belts have been doing it a long time. They have a lot of knowledge, and they're a lot of times willing to share, and a lot of times have more time to share knowledge and develop that mentorship than the black belt.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you have 100 black belts at your school and there's just, it's Atos and the whole class is black belts. That's a totally different ball game, But if you're at a school where you just have a few black belts and maybe every class there's just one black belt, he's the teacher, he or she. They might not have time to develop, if you got 10, 12 people in the class or even more, how are you going to develop all these relationships? It's almost imperative, and I think it's definitely a huge part of jiu-jitsu to have others mentor and help lower belts. And I think we all know that. That's part of it. It's big in my school and my team and surroundings. I think it's expected. Maybe not expected, but I appreciate it for those around me. It's fun to share knowledge, and to try to develop some of that. So I'm always open to that. So you kind of just have to find someone that you can, get some guidance from. Maybe it's just a friend that's the same belt, or maybe they've been in the game a couple of years longer than you. Don't be afraid to ask what their experiences are. Listen to this podcast. That's why we started this podcast, is to share on these exact issues. It's this exact thing. How do you deal with stuff like this? This is coming from a listener, and that's probably not the only one that has these experiences,
Yeah.
Some gyms, like our gym, we had an official mentor program for white belts for a while. I don't know if they still do it now, but those are some programs that can work too. White belt, it's going to be a little different. That person, you're basically trying to just get them through the fire. The initial fire. But if you've been training a couple of years and you're feeling like you're getting the instruction, but you don't necessarily have the relationships or the mentorships. Sometimes it takes you to reach out, and either ask your coach or ask some training partners, what more can I get out? Can we spend a little bit of time? Maybe this is your time to maybe pay for a private lesson. So you can pay for the time, maybe that helps develop that will, and now let's say you pay for a private or whatever. Somehow you're training one-on-one with one of your coaches. If you're still not getting at that point, then that could be the they problem, could be them that they're just not going to get that deep with you and share, and that they're out there too, whether they don't want to do it or whether they don't have the knowledge or the wherewithal to do it. Not everybody's made to be a mentor. You can have all the knowledge in the world and you might not be the greatest leader. That's just a fact. So it's all the more important. It's all the more reason why it's very important to do your homework when you're starting at a gym and try to go to a couple different places and figure out where you want to land. And that's just not only instruction. It's, what's the environment like? When I started at GD, I just knew that this guy was super legit. He knows Jiu Jitsu really well. He's like, he basically brought Jiu Jitsu to the Arizona Southwest area.
He's a freaking pioneer in the sport.
Yeah. And I didn't know that what would happen eventually is that this like gym would become kind of my family, my second family. It's very, you feel great there, it's very welcoming. And that is a testament to the school owner, so he just instills that vibe in the place, and that's the type of people he hired. And I've always trained under his coaches, and they're really, my two main coaches are both older than me. They're mature, and they also understand. I think when you're at a certain age, you do understand that is part of what happens when you get old in a sport like this, or anything. When you get knowledge and you have this knowledge, you've been doing things for a long time, whether it's this or business, you're in a place to share that knowledge. Maybe you're not the type that likes to do it. I like that. I like to be able to develop people because it's a form of paying back. I've had some great mentors in business. Some of them I stumbled upon. Some I had to really develop a relationship to get stuff out of them in my former career. But without those people, I would not have advanced. So it's just a form of paying it back. And I try to do that both in business, with my business and teaching young people on how to run a business, but also on the mats for sure. I don't know everything, but I can help you with stuff that I do know. So, and I'll be willing to take the time to do that.
I couldn't say. I feel like, and we kind of got into this at around,
That's okay.
I almost feel like, I tell you what, if the listener is listening to this, or if you are somebody that this resonates with, shoot us a message, shoot us a direct message on Facebook, Instagram. If you are personally attached to us, send us a message in text and tell us more about it, because this is something that I think we could dedicate an entire podcast to, and we would love to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And tell us more about your experience, and we would love to riff on this a little bit more, because I do think that it deserves more.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's a great.
We'll make an episode out of it. Send us some info. We love to hear the feedback. It helps us actually understand who our audience is and who we're talking to. And it's going to help us all understand that not everyone's in the same boat. We share this common passion, but everyone's training is unique, So what I will say is, in terms of this, help a brother or sister out.
Yeah, and
it's always fun to be in a vibe like that.
Absolutely. If you're needing help, and you can identify a person, one person is all you need. Dig in, double down on that relationship.
Yep. Send us a message, guys and gals. Let us know, even if it's just chiming in, hey, I got a great situation, or send us if you don't. If you
Yeah.
need some advice, we can either talk about it on the podcast. Obviously, we won't mention any names, or if you just wanted some advice from Wes or myself, we've both been in the game a little bit, for a while now. We can give you our own personal advice offline. We got the BJJ physio over here. He does more than just that type of coaching. He's a great mentor, and I know Wes's clients really love the fact that you're really involved with them, as per the testament I saw online today. Great video. I know what you do when you helped me. You're always in there, rooting me on and asking me how I'm doing. So that's really what it's about. It's being engaged with that other person, whether it's your training partner, whether it's your student, or whether you're the student and you're looking for that in the teacher. I've been lucky. I have those relationships, but I've also worked to develop those. I respect my coaches and training partners a lot, and I think that's a mutual thing that you have to earn. So you get in there, you put in the work, and you understand. Also, by the way, to wrap it up, any type of mentoring or mentoring program, and I've seen this both ways, it has to come from each person. If you are, hey, I want to get, I'd really like to get some more input, and I'm just feeling, can you maybe share some more with me, or maybe you're wanting to get into that situation. If this person gives you advice or gives you feedback and then you do nothing with it and there's no response, there's no working on that, how willing do you think that person is to share again? That's what I mean by, and some people, you'd be surprised, and I'm not just talking jiu-jitsu, but some people get into that mode where they just expect without putting in the work themselves or sharing in the responsibility of that relationship and that growth. So it's a two-way street. If you want to get more out of it, you got to put the work in too. And that means you need to go out and make more relationships and put your 2 cents in. So let's get some comments going. We'll make this a future episode. Definitely a lot more to talk about on this. We touched on a little bit here, but another episode.
Another episode in the books, man. Thanks for everybody for listening, and we look forward to keeping it going. Shoot us those messages.
All right, guys and gals, have a safe week of training, and we'll see you next time.